So in the reading from the prophet Isaiah, Isaiah calls out to God, I am an unclean man of unclean lips amidst an unclean people. In other words, I don't have a whole lot to kind of start out with. I don't have anything to I don't have any assets to kind of proceed from, Lord, to do what you've asked me to do, to serve you. And it is at that point that the Lord can really grab hold of Isaiah and really make him an instrument of his word. It's when we acknowledge that we come to God with our brokenness, we come to God with our wounds, our vulnerabilities, our insecurities, our mistakes, our sins, and we come to God with all the ways in which um, we have trouble communicating His love to others. Being of unclean lips, there are all kinds of ways in which we get in the way of the good news of Jesus. And we live among a people of unclean lips. We live in a world in which it's not immediately apparent that mercy is the way to go. It's not immediately apparent that forgiveness has the power to heal the world, as opposed to doubling down, as opposed to canceling. Um, that it's not readily apparent that the way of suffering love and solidarity with the weak is what has the last word in the whole creation. And we live amongst a people that, um, in a sense, are have built a culture around fear and around the domination of the other. And even in the midst of that, if we can come to God knowing those things, confessing those things, then God can make a new start through us. That's what Advent is all about. It's really, in a sense, telling the truth to ourselves, about ourselves, and then sharing that truth to God, sharing a truth with God that He already knows. God already knows all those things, but He wants us to know them and to confess them, to reckon with them, and then to be His instrument in healing those things, to accept His word of healing on our uncleanness, on our wounds, on all the things that separate us from God's love, to accept His healing for our unclean lips, for the ways in which we fail to speak His word, and therefore allow Him to speak more clearly through us, and to be a people who can heal a culture and be examples of forgiveness and of solidarity. And so that's, in a sense, that's how God kind of uses Isaiah and uses him to bring a new word to Israel. And that's how God can use each and every one of us and us as a community as well. The holy seed is its stump. Even when everything is burned away, there is yet a seed that God can cause to grow. The lesson there. A reading from the prophet Isaiah. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lofty, and the hem of his robe filled the temple. Seraphs were in attendance above him. Each had 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces, and with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. And one called to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. The pivots on the thresholds shook at the voices of those who called, and the house filled with smoke. And I said, Woe is me, I am lost, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips. Yet my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then one of the seraphs flew to me, holding a live coal that had been taken from the altar with a pair of tongs. The seraph touched my mouth with it and said, Now that this has touched your lips, your guilt is departed and your sin is blotted out. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And I said, Here am I, send me. And he said, Go and say to this people, Keep listening, but do not comprehend. Keep looking, but do not understand. Make the mind of this people dull, and stop their ears and shut their eyes, so that they may not look with their eyes, and listen with their ears, and comprehend with their minds, and turn and be healed. Then I said, How long, O Lord? And he said, Until cities lie waste without inhabitant, and houses without people, and the land is utterly desolate, until the Lord sends everyone far away, and vast is the emptiness in the midst of the land. Even if a tenth part remain in it, it will be burned again, like a terebinth or an oak, whose stump remains standing when it is felled. The holy seed is a stump. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.